What about the relationship between marketing and sales?
We're working in silos, and sales may have been like, no, I don't need that push. You have to start thinking sales is marketing and marketing is sales.
How do you have a healthy angle or check on your data?
So we have a business analytics group, and that helps. Has really helped drive a lot of the decisions that we're making. So it gives us definitely a better view of our business.
Welcome to Leadership in Manufacturing Podcast, your go-to resource for mastering leadership excellence in the dynamic world of electronics. I'm your host, Sannah Vinding, and I'm so excited you're here. I'm here to bring you insightful interviews with industry leaders from distribution, the manufacturing sector, and also manufacturing reps. Before we start, I have a small request. If you're enjoying our podcast on platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please hit the follow button. Your support is going to help us to bring in even more amazing guests to share the valuable knowledge. So thank you for listening in. If you want to learn more, check out our website. It's called leadershipinmanufacturing.com. Welcome to Leadership in Manufacturing Podcast. I'm your host, Sannah Vinding, and I'm so excited you are here. This episode is a rerun. This is back when I interviewed Maryellen Stack from Sannah Electronics. And I have a few reasons why I want to reshare this episode, because it is worth listening to again. We chatted about how big data is reshaping marketing and sales strategies. We also talked about how important it is to bring the voice of the customer back to the company. But it's not just one department. You want to make sure it's different departments that are listening to the customer. And last one, we also talked about AI. So you had to listen to the full episode to find out what we're talking about. So all in the end here, you don't want to miss opportunity. This is a key discussion and you will learn from key industry leaders and especially from Maryellen Stack. So I'm excited to share this episode. Today, I'm joined by Maryellen Stack, and together we will be exploring the world of the manufacturing industry, where we'll discuss marketing and sales challenges, B2B marketing, and also industrial trends. Maryellen Stack is the Director of Marketing Communication for Sannah Electronics, and she's also an active member of the industry various organizations, including ECIA, EIA, and Women in Electronics. She received a bachelor degree in political science with a business minor from the University of Massachusetts. Welcome, Maryellen.
Thank you, Sannah. I appreciate that.
I'm so glad to have you here. And it's so fun, right? Because we've been connecting over the last I think maybe since December a couple of times because of all the things we've done together now.
We have.
So I'm just...
It's like getting together with an old friend now. Sannah.
Yeah, right? It's great how to see that we meet in person, right? We're actually looking at each other, and now this is also looking at each other. But, it's just so great to see how we can actually continue our networking. So that's why I love to have you here today. So
I'm so happy.
Good. So let's jump into it. So because this is exciting, we both love marketing. So how's the role of marketing in the manufacturing industry? How has that changed over the last couple of years?
Well, for me, from what I've seen in my role, and I've been with my company for almost 23 years now. When I first joined the industry, it was all about print, right? Everything was in a hard format. And it was all about, can you get your ad on page whatever of the EE Times or whatever the publication was, right? And then it quickly, I would say in the first 5 years, evolved to digital. And that's really where it's been. But I would say over the last, 5 years, it's really proliferated, right? Where it's not just advertising on electronic publications anymore or trying to use those properties. It's much broader, right? It's social, it's video, it's podcasts. So it's really gone from, this place that was so traditional to now really the opportunities are endless. So it is an exciting time to be part of it. It can be a little overwhelming at times trying to keep up and to be as savvy as you can with the resources that you have, but it's exciting.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's there's always something new, right? Or something's changing, or something is trending, and then you see that. I love to get inspired from other industries. It's
true, and in some ways, I think because we were so traditional, for years, very traditional. I think Google changed that, right? And then from Google, social changed things, and then all of a sudden, you have this digitization of tools,
Yeah.
access to more data, access to really understanding that customer experience. So it's unleashed all types of opportunity.
Yeah.
And
That's so how again, right? Because so we can agree on that one, right? It's been been a journey for marketing. What about the relationship between marketing and sales? How has that journey over many years? Has that changed, or is it, what does it look like?
I think, in my current organization, we're small in comparison. We're not small, but we were small in comparison to a lot of other companies in this industry. So we always had a strong relationship with our sales leadership, marketing and sales, and our executive leadership is not extensive, right? And it's been a core group for a long time. But you're right, we were working in silos in a lot of ways, and we weren't always necessarily connected, where I may have felt the pressure from suppliers, from the manufacturer to be pushing certain things, where sales may have been like, no, I don't need that pushed. So I think over the last few years, what really happened, and it was probably driven a lot by the pandemic, was that shift where you have to start thinking sales is marketing and marketing is sales. Like we might have different job descriptions, but at the end of the day, that whole customer experience is really what's driving us. So it's a commonality, and it really requires more of a collaboration in terms of strategy and how do you want to service that customer. So
yeah. So have you been defining, even if it's personas, or is it more the journey of, how you work together with your
So we're doing both. We were always pretty strong at, the identifying, is it a medical customer? Is it an industrial customer? That has been part of our strength for years, drives a lot of our reporting. It drives a lot of our internal marketing efforts that go out, right, using our own platforms.
Yeah.
Now it's more, we're now looking at, okay, what is that journey? And how does it tie into what we already know, right? So how does a medical customer come in and maybe get to a solution? How does an industrial customer use the site? And then we have engineering and purchasing, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Again, two different ways, two different means of getting to data. So you really have to be considerate of who that customer is and what type of experience it is that they're looking for, and plan for, the best approach, but from multiple views, I guess.
Yeah. You never know which door. Yeah, but you never know, right, with a customer, which door they're opening to get in, either to look for the information or get more information, right, or get educated around it. So it's
right. And we're looking at tools for better doing that, right? And we're building a new website. It's taken a little longer than we wanted, but that's the goal, right? Is how do you help get to that end result, right? We're here to solve problems, right? We're not really here to just sell a part. And I think that's also been a big transition for the industry overall too, right? It's not just about pushing the features and benefits of a product anymore. They're getting inundated with these types of emails. It's really, how do you solve the problem? So, we've tried to position ourselves that way, excuse me, and tried to develop our sales structure that way as well, right? Where we have specialists who focus on certain product sets, but that can help our sales organization really pull those solutions through. So
oh, that makes sense. What about the pandemic, right? Because that pushed everyone. Like, it's not just in our industry, right? It touches everything. What about the platforms or the technology? So if you have like a CRM system, because again, right, you need to have sales and marketing both loving it, right, and not pointing at each other and saying you own it, right? It has to be joined. Have you seen any, what you experienced there? Anything you can recommend or advise to say, what will actually make it good for marketing and sales to be together about a CRM system?
So we have a homegrown built system, and we did that a long time ago after we had put our ERP system in. And it was kind of during those times, right, when the industry got really lean. So we built our own system, but the system is set up in such a way that if sales comes in and they enter an opportunity, they identify, the proper parties for that opportunity to get shared with, right?
Yeah.
So anyone who has ties needs to know, okay, we have an opportunity at customer A. If there is a manufacturer rep associated, they get an email, marketing gets an email. So all parties are communicated with, and that's the structure with which we manage those types of situations and those types of accounts. That information comes in especially handy for marketing, where as long as that salesperson has put in all the requisite information, we're sending them. When we are doing our marketing campaigns, we're sending them the data that they're looking for, the information that they're looking for, right? We don't want to send a DC to DC converter for a rail system to a medical customer, right? No. So the better the information that sales enters and the better that we respond in terms of what we can do for the opportunity, the better I am at my job in terms of supporting sales efforts, but also making certain that customer, we're not hitting them with things they don't care about, right? We don't want to turn them off that way.
No. Yeah. Sometimes I'm getting so many emails where I'm like, how do I get out of it? And then even if I did get out of it later, I get a new one.
I think sometimes you can, they do recycle things.
Yeah, right. They do recycle. Yeah.
Yes, they do recycle. And so we're very cognizant of that. And a lot of what we do right now, Sannah, is really at that higher level. But I was speaking with Brian Flynn, he's our vice president of sales, the other day, and he was showing me, we have this tool and we've had it a long time, and we call it the customer buying report, but it really would show us where are we not helping a customer, right? It would show you those empty blocks. Well, they've really kind of taken that and drilled it down now, where we can get much more granular and much more specific. And I'm like, all right, well, how do I help you with this, right? How do I now take this data that you have and really make those messages specific to those customers, right? So maybe they're not just medical customers, they're creating some sort of portable device and they need, a battery, a backup battery or something like that. So it is exciting, and that collaboration, I think, is really I don't want to say it was forced through the pandemic, but I do think we all recognize, like, oh gosh, if we're going to get through all of this, we have to kind of work together and really think about, how to do things better. Yeah.
Yeah. We got pushed into making some better decisions or maybe trying different things and figuring out what works, what doesn't.
Totally. I mean, you may have, because you've been savvy in this environment, but before Teams, I would never show my face on a meeting. I was always like, no, I don't want to show my face. Now it feels rude to not show your face. And so we're much more comfortable in this type of situation. Yeah. We're becoming savvier with how we use the technology in these types of platforms. So the opportunities, there were opportunities that did come out of a devastating time, right? But I think we learned and we adapted, and I think adaptability is key to everything.
Oh yeah, it is. But what about the whole data collection? And now you're just saying, right, you had some data. So have that escalated? And you're not that you are, but some could have the feeling that they're drowning in data, right? And like, how do I look at it? So how do you have a healthy angle or check on your data?
So we have a business analytics group, and that helps. We've employed a business data system, Sisense. That helps, right? Instead of, it used to be like you'd go into your ERP, you'd derive a query, it would spit back the report, and we would make all those reports available to our sales team. But I mean, they were report upon report. I think having Sisense and the ability to maybe more concisely share the data has really helped drive a lot of the decisions that we're making around inventory investments and the suppliers that we're working with and how to better support our customers. So I would say, if you can invest in some sort of business data management tool, much more helpful than driving queries out of your, ERP system. Yeah. But and then we all have access to that, right? It's so much easier now taking a look back and saying, all right, well, we had this percentage in power, we had this percentage in connector, this percentage in sensors. So it gives us definitely a better view of our business.
Yeah, that sounds good. And it's also taking it in bites, right? And finding out, let's learn this area and get good at it, and then you can scale.
It is. I think our next challenge really is, so we're working on this new website, and there'll be different tools in and around that. And in our current website, right, we have SEMrush, we have Moz. We're trying to track that journey.
Yeah.
But I believe in the new site and with the different tool set, we'll be able to better understand what it is a customer is looking for. And then to be able to feed that into the Sisense platform is ultimately really the goal. So that if we have programs with a supplier that, we're doing jointly, we want to be able to provide that ROI.
Yeah.
So I think having access to the data to make the right decisions and then to report back on that is really where, for me, what's important to my role.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask you a little bit about the new website, but I want to ask and saying, because again, back to the pandemic, right? And it's maybe everything is pandemic, but the whole self-service, or how we as a B2C, right? How we are getting more, you go on the website, or you check your status if you order something. It could be from Amazon, right? Or you cancel something, or you have to return something, or you
push something out.
Yeah, right. It's the
Not
whole.
That we want anyone to push anything out, but push out. Yep.
And then suddenly, if something you can't figure out, you want to talk to a person. You don't want to press, all these numbers when you have called the 800 number, right? And you're sitting there with the with the sound.
Right.
So we have all kind of we got new habits. We have new ways of interacting, right? If it's anything on digital platforms. So have you seen now with your new website, is any of this, been affected, and you're saying, oh my God, with the new website, we need to adjust, taking some of the B2C habits and implement
definitely,
that.
Definitely B2C habits so in our current environment, we do have that self-service model, but obviously you're going to a new environment and you want to be able to enhance that experience, and completely that B2C experience was part of the decision and design process. And, we might have to do it in phased approaches, given, first it was, let's just get the current functionality in and make certain that we don't do anything to ruin the service levels that they're receiving now. But then what else do we need to provide them? And I can tell you from my perspective, things like product change notifications, or things where they'll see it, we'll email it to them, but they might lose track of that, tying that into the information that they're able to get through their self-service model. Those types of things, right? Where they don't have to go searching for a bit of information that we've shared. Yeah. So
you want to make it like frictionless or friction-free, right? So it's
as best as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So obviously parametric search, attributes, data sheets, you want all of that to make a better experience, right? For the customer to make an informed decision. Yeah.
No. It's funny how I don't know if the word is funny, but it's just we do get inspiration, right, from our B2C experience into the B2C world.
Amazon changed the world, right?
Yeah.
And good in good ways and bad ways, right? It's hard now, right? Don't you just expect? I ordered something the other day from an online retailer, and it took to the end of the day to get the confirmation, and I thought, I actually was like, did I order it?
Yeah.
I walked away. And so that wasn't the best experience, and I won't name the retailer. I won't besmirch them, but and now I'm like, I haven't yet received a shipping notice. So Amazon's changed how we think about those things, right? Where you get that immediate confirmation, you get updates whenever the shipping's coming, and then they're telling you it's on its way, right? And it landed, and they send you a photo of your front stoop. So it's those are definitely things, right, you have to take into consideration. Obviously we're not Amazon. We don't want to be Amazon.
No.
But we do want to make certain that our customers are having the most positive experience possible.
Yeah. agree. I've
for
seen
the masses, at least.
you do one of that. No, I also, but this is also in the B2C, right? There's much more. The QR codes, you go in, and if you have to return something, they just scan that. You don't have to have your paper print, right?
Yeah.
And when you get your receipt, right, it's just in your email.
Right.
So it's all there.
All of that, payment methods,
Yeah.
right? We're slower to. I think some distributors I've seen it, but we're slower to, like Venmo. We won't have Venmo right away, right? But eventually down the road, maybe that's something to consider, right? How does a customer want to pay?
Yeah.
And especially, and not those larger customers that obviously have credit established with us in terms and those types of situations where they can go in and manage those things. But the customer coming in because we had the price and availability and they saw us on an inventory site, right?
Yeah.
How do they want to pay? Right. Yeah. And right now it's credit card. So
you can do it.
But there's new ways, right? We have to keep thinking about that.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the skill set within the industry, or if somebody's new, right? Because again, the industry, if you look at the whole, the age of in manufacturing, or maybe in electronics, a little bit older, there is coming new younger people are coming in. But you know, what kind of advice do you want to give to somebody who's coming into the industry? What's, you know, how will they succeed? I
would, to my team, my younger team, my first thing is try to get as much exposure to whatever you can. So don't shy away if there's something that scares you. You know, try. And if you struggle and you have issues, come and see me. So that would be my first piece of advice, right? I hate to say, don't say no. But in terms of, like, say we had some sort of project and it involved IT, but we're marketing, I got a lot of exposure by being parts of those more, you know, multifunctional cross-departmental teams, right? Where I was exposed to operations, IT, sales, so not just marketing. The other thing I think for anyone is build your network, right? Build your network. We talked about it at ERA when we did our panel together, but LinkedIn is a perfect place to do that online, but also look for opportunities when there are things going on locally. If ERA has a local event, go. If ECIA has a local event, go. If Women in Electronics has a local event, go. So, you know, don't shy away. Don't think that you're not worthy of going because you're new, right? I probably felt a little bit like that early on. Like, I don't know if I should be here, or do I belong here? And in retrospect, who wouldn't belong there, right? You're there to learn and get exposure and to meet people. So and those are two pieces of advice I would try to give.
Yeah. What about a mentor? Is that something you have used in your career?
I have a ton of mentors, but never in a organized setting. My boss is a mentor. He's my sponsor. All of my colleagues I've learned from, and they've all helped me build my network by giving me exposure to the people that they work directly with. And then I got involved. Right. And I'm actually now mentoring as part of the Women in Electronics group. So this is my first time officially mentoring. Although I feel I've done what was, you know, given to me. I've tried to reproduce that in my own informal ways. So it's kind of interesting to be part of a formal program now to see it from the mentor side of things. And from anything I've heard, the mentor learns just as much as the mentee.
So that was my next one, right?
If you want to regroup in a few months, you know, we can come back and do this again.
No, but that's what I heard from a lot of people, where they're saying, it's not just one way, right? It's actually both ways.
And I think that's critical. And what I'd like to see here, you know, so Sager was always great at identifying young talent and developing it. And then the telecom bust, like, there were those two downturns that really, really hurt us. And then we were lean, right? So we did away with some of that. And now there's this effort in both the sales and marketing sides of the business. And I think also probably in operations as well, but I'm more close to the sales leadership, where we're all trying to do that, right? Identify, find young talent, bring it in, identify what they're strong at, and try to give them a path.
Yeah. We need it. Okay. Looking a little bit into the future. And maybe the talent here could be one of the challenges, but I want to ask you, what do you think? Maybe it's within sales and marketing, but what's some of the biggest opportunities or challenges that you see in the future?
Well, talent is for sure an issue, right? And hiring, which I'm still not quite certain I wrap my head around, but it is hard. It is hard finding talent. I think the other thing we all face, and maybe because this is a more traditional market or industry, I should say, and not that anyone is slow to adapt. I think everyone who's still here has adapted, but I think we're facing a lot of technical changes, a lot of digital changes for everything that we've gone through, Sannah, right? AI is going to change everything. So, right. So how do you adapt to that? How do you embrace it and not be fearful of it? Because it is a hard thing to understand, even though we're faced with it all the time and we might not even realize it, right? Your phone listens to you and it feeds things up, right? You're searching for things and it knows what you want. It's delivering it based on your past search experience. So we don't realize all of that's artificially driven. And so, it was interesting just being part of the whole ERA planning committee, right, for the breakout sessions and seeing some of the feedback from past years and a lot of I think it's just something that we still haven't fully grasped. And so to me, I think it's both the biggest opportunity and the biggest challenge. And it all ties back to data, really.
Yeah, it does. And also getting that push, right? Even though we got the push over the last couple of years, there's still, if it's companies, right, or if it's people, right? To do it, right? Just right.
You don't want to lag now just because we think we're on the other side of it, because you never know when the next situation is going to come, or if those companies are adapting and changing and you don't, and you fall behind, where does that leave you, right? You're not in a good spot if you're not, at least how you can, keeping up with where the world is going.
So so we all need to keep learning, right, and exploring and doing things. So how do you learn?
Do I learn? Well, again, I'm involved with the various industry associations, which leads to meeting other people like yourself, right? Or so I do think that whole networking thing is not only just about making certain you have connections. It's learning from those connections. I learn from everyone I meet, whether it's a positive lesson or sometimes rarely, but sometimes it can be a negative. It could be a negative situation as well, but that doesn't mean I don't take something from it. So I love learning from my network, hearing what other people are doing, reading. I think you talked about it, right? That whole break, and you're scrolling through LinkedIn, right? Don't you stop and you read what you're interested in? And so I think that's a great environment for doing that. And like you said, it is a timeout in a certain way, but you're getting exposed to bigger ideas or other things or technology or whatever it is that catches your interest. So reading is a big one as well for me. I think now that I'm a little on the older side, training opportunities aren't quite what they used to be, but I do try to participate when the various associations offer trainings. Women in electronics, obviously, because you were involved early on. Have the leadership trainings and also the personal development. Those are helpful too sometimes, just to reset. And ECIA the different podcasts yourself right now, following you, Jordan. So I think those are just all the different ways now that we can take information in and
learn. Yeah.
Think bigger, right?
Yeah.
Think bigger. To me,
Yeah.
it's about thinking bigger and not just, I think this, I think that. I want to be exposed to other people's ideas.
That's awesome. I also love YouTube. So you can really spend time sometimes scrolling, right? Where you're like, oh my God, I spent 20 minutes on scrolling and I actually did not learn anything or read anything. That does happen. It's not that, so if sometimes I will actually jump to YouTube and then I will type in, even if it's where I say, I need to be better using this software, right? Or or if it's a topic. And then I will listen, or I will look at some of these YouTube videos and find one, right, where they're good at explaining it or have the, the energy that I like. So it's funny, I think, how YouTube is crawling in on me on being a part of my educational journey as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people I know do. My husband goes to YouTube all the time to figure out stuff. I'm a little silly. I'm not a big social person, which might sound funny since I do like LinkedIn, but Instagram, I like, and I follow some guy that gives you Excel tips, and my team laughed at me, but it's helpful. So,
but if you're getting these small tips, right, in small doses,
right,
that's a good way of getting it.
And I think we have to look at social for the positives that way, right? There's plenty of negatives, but I think if we're using it for the greater good versus some of the other fallout, if you will, then why wouldn't you take advantage of it, right? And YouTube is...
it's amazing.
It's pretty amazing, the things you can find there. Yeah.
It's not just video and what people are eating, right? It's that's much more to it.
Yes, there is much more to it, right? And it didn't... definitely much more to it.
No. Okay, so Maryellen, what if you have to look back, right, and saying, what kind of advice will I give myself like 20 years ago? What kind of advice would you give yourself?
I'm big on listening first so I can understand the situation, and I have to write things down because I think there's something for me when I write and I connect. But I do wish I was more vocal with my ideas earlier on. I think when I first got into this industry and I was newly married and I was having children and that was where my focus was, I wasn't as outright in this environment, right? I was doing my job and I had to do my job well because that's my personality, but I wasn't trying to really go above what that role was. And then I don't know when I hit the certain point, maybe when my kids were coming out of daycare and going into elementary school, where I thought, all right, I'm spending the majority of my work week, 40 plus hours at my place of occupation, and I'm not going to get value out of it if I don't change my mindset. And so from that point forward, I did have a plan. It was a general plan, but I knew I didn't want to just be doing what I was doing and that I really wanted to have an impact. And my manager was awesome with me in that regard. And I think just changing that mindset and becoming more confident to just share my ideas or to share my disagreements. Sometimes I'm like, why would we do that? Right.
Yeah.
And I think I am surrounded by a lot of men, so it's changing. But back then, my manager was a boss. My 4 colleagues who ran the commodities were male, and they were great. Like they were great. So it was like, why did I keep my mouth shut? So
and also have healthy conversations, right, or discussions. I think that opens up a lot of new ways to solve whatever task or whatever problem or initiative you have. So
definitely. So for me, it was that mindset where I had to go from thinking I had to realize I was both a mom and I could be a talented employee, right? I could be doing both very well if I, with that goal. And then using my voice. 2 things I do wish I had considered earlier on.
Yeah, but it's always easy to look back and saying, I should have done that, right? It's
definitely.
Time
But,
has
you try
changed.
to encourage
Yeah.
if you have a team, right, you're trying to encourage them to share their ideas. Like, I don't want everything to be my idea. I get tired of listening to my voice sometimes, right? Like, I don't want to talk sometimes. I made it a point. I'm like, I'm not talking. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk. Right. Just to see what happens and to see them share and collaborate.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm working on, right? I think, before when you and I had talked and we were talking about the ERA conference, and I think her name was Cheryl Cran, talked about that hero concept. And you want to, as a manager, swoop in and take care of everyone and be the hero and they all love you. Yeah. And I probably did have some of that in the beginning, because I went from being a one-woman department to, all of a sudden growing, and it's hard to let go of the things that you're used to doing.
Yeah.
But it's not good for your team's development if you do that. So it's been a hard transition. I still falter sometimes, but I'm learning, Sannah. I'm learning.
Let it go, right?
Let it go. Let it go. Yeah, let it go.
No,
go do what you want. Just don't cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah. No, I think it's good reflection and good learnings, right? And it's also, I think it's also important to say that you're still learning. I'm still learning.
Every day.
It's a journey, right?
I make a mistake every day. I'm learning every day.
Yeah.
I probably say something silly every day. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But you also want to be authentic, right?
Yeah. So no. If any of the listener wants to reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
I think the best way would be to reach me through my Sager email, mstack@sager.com. Or they could connect with me through LinkedIn. I'm getting a lot of connections since the ERA event, so that's fun. I enjoyed that. And that's also a good place for sharing content and information and getting to know someone. But either way is fine. It'd be great. Okay.
Perfect. And I'll put that in the show notes, and also make sure on the episode page on mindinnovation.com, I'll put it there as well. So, it was awesome. I think it was great. And, I
had so much fun. Thank you for I just got through telling you don't want to talk so much anymore. And I blabbed for 25 minutes. So thank you.
You're welcome. If you like Leadership in Manufacturing podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show wherever you get the podcast. Our podcast is for interested decision makers like yourself, providing a personalized experience to elevate your leadership journey. So be sure to tune in. You'll have access to a wealth of practical advice and innovative strategies, boosting and refining your leadership style. So check it out. It's on leadershipinmanufacturing.com. Remember, stay curious, keep learning. See you next time.